Timespiral has a secret history that is both nostalgic and mental. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. Welcome to my new abode. I have finally gotten settled into my new home. Now, I'm positive that we're gonna have some sound issues, maybe a few visual glitches or whatever. I don't know if we're gonna have a white wall here or my regular background. We're gonna be doing a little bit of experimenting, so it's gonna take a little bit of time for us to kind of get settled in. So for the next little bit, I encourage you to give me feedback more than usual about sound levels and the visuals and all that. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts so I can zero in on the absolute best level for these videos. Now, we are here to talk about the past of Timespiral and by extension, Timespiral Remastered. Obviously, that's what makes this a little more interesting. So, what we're going to delve into is something I found that's really, really cool in an article that Mark Rosewater wrote talking about the original design of Timespiral. It's a big article with like 27 different points on it, and a number of the points are of interest, but there was two that really grabbed my attention and said, okay, this is a really divergent sort of mechanic and setup, and it would have been interesting to see in execution, although I understand why we're not really having them. You know, just they don't fit properly in some ways, but it's a really cool concept. So one is nostalgic and the other is mental. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out talking about the nostalgic concept. So they had cards, basically design cards like Nostalgic Bolt, Nostalgic Beast, Nostalgic Artifact, and it's a really odd concept because it allows cards from outside of Standard to cross over into Standard. And not like Timespiral did back in the day where you had the time-shifted cards, and all the cards that were originally time-shifted in Timespiral were also considered Standard legal. No, this is a way to literally reach through time and bring different cards into existence in the current time. So basically, the idea is this. I'll read the Nostalgic Beast to you. So, Nostalgic Beast was 2 green and 4, these are design cards, they never actually existed, but this is to give you the concept. So 2 green and 4 for a 5/5 beast. The keyword ability is called Nostalgic, Nostalgic-Beast. Then it says, as long as this card is in your deck, you may have up to 4 copies of any beast legal in vintage. So this obviously enters into a new realm of oddness, right? Where as long as you're playing with this beast in your deck, like, 1 copy of a Nostalgic Beast in your deck allows you to pick 4 copies of any beast, up to 4 copies of any beast legal in vintage. So you would actually go and look at the vintage ban list, and you would pick any creature with the creature type beast, and you could put 4 copies of that beast into your starting deck. Even, they could be something from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it doesn't matter. Any beast from the history of Magic, as long as it's not banned in vintage, you could put into your standard legal deck by having 1 copy of this Nostalgic Beast. And this wasn't just limited to creatures. So they have the Nostalgic Bolt. Nostalgic Bolt is 1 red and 1, and it's an instant that deals 2 damage to a creature or player, and it's got Nostalgic 1 and a red. So instead of being a beast, in this case, it would allow you to pick any 1 red card from all of Magic's history that's legal in vintage and play 4 copies of it in your standard deck. And they even had, like, they had a number of variations. I think one of the craziest to me was the Nostalgic Artifact, where it allowed basically a 6 casting cost artifact, 6 and tap it, target player draws 2 cards. So off the bat, I mean, it's not really like super high power level, but it's playable all on its own, right? Like, I can see in a commander deck, something that costs 6 and tap it, target player draws 2 cards, you get to draw 2 cards, you can give one of the people you're trying to bargain with 2 cards, like, it's got potential right there. But it also, again, has the nostalgic ability, Nostalgic 6. And so in the way this works is you can have up to 4 copies of any card of the same mana cost 6 that's an artifact. So basically, oh wait, no, it's not even artifact, never mind. It actually just says as long as this card's in your deck, you may have up to 4 copies of any card of the mana cost 6, legal and vintage. So, I mean, it's essentially gonna have to be, it doesn't say converted mana cost, it says mana cost 6. So I don't know if that's short form, if it literally would have to be another colorless item. I'm assuming that's what it's gonna turn out to be. So the way this reads to me is you can have any artifact that costs 6, 4 copies of them in your deck from all throughout Magic's history. Just one card though, you can't pick 4 different ones. Although it does raise an interesting question. If I'm playing with multiple copies of Nostalgic Beast and Nostalgic Artifact, does that mean for each individual copy it allows me to pick a different card? Or doesn't matter how many copies of this you have in your deck, it only allows you to do this once. So if you have 3 copies of Nostalgic Beast in your deck, you're still only allowed to pick 1 beast and it counts for all of them. So it raises an interesting rules question in that regard. But I'm pretty sure it's obvious to you guys what the biggest problem with this would be, and that is, how do you prove deck legality, right? Like Standard's pretty straightforward. When you play Standard, you know what cards are in Standard. If somebody plays something that's not Standard legal, you're gonna be like, boom, I know that's illegal. But if all of a sudden somebody's playing a card from 20 years ago, and now these nostalgic cards exist, now you have to go, okay, how many copies do you have in your deck? Do you have the nostalgic copy? Like, is your deck legit? It just brings up more uncertainty in this whole, hey, you gotta trust me level, right? So that's why that was abandoned. Now that is the nostalgic concept. The other concept I'm calling mental, even though it's all designed as a time concept, okay? So basically, this is another attempt to bring things from Magic's past, but done in a different way. So there's this card called Time Recruit, and it will allow, actually, you know what, what's better than this? I think Time Master is actually probably a better example. Sorry, these are a little bit wonky. So Time Master, let me just adjust this here, I didn't properly prepare. Okay, so to give you an example of the time cards, Time Master would be 1 blue and X for a wizard shapeshifter. I do like the fact that they made it a shapeshifter. So it's a 1/1, but as it comes into play, you may choose a wizard with converted mana cost equal to X. Card name becomes a copy of that creature. So basically, if you paid 1 blue and 3, then X is 3. So you can actually have the Time Master come as a copy of any wizard with converted mana cost. Actually, because it says converted mana cost here, when it comes to the nostalgic things we talked about, it didn't say converted mana cost, so that clears that up as well. So basically, you've got the Time Master variation. They did a zombie version where he's 1 black to put out, he's 1/1. When he goes to the graveyard, you pay X mana. If you do put a creature token into play, that's a copy of any zombie. Now, obviously, with the casting cost, converted casting cost of X. They did a burn instant, Time Blast, 1 red and 2 for an instant. And it says card name becomes a copy of any instant with a mana cost of red and 1. So the concept is essentially these spells morph into things previously existing in Magic the Gathering. So you have the ability to go, actually, this wizard is this wizard from 15 years ago, things like that. Now, on the surface, that's actually a really, really cool concept, right? Where it's like, wow, this one card, this one zombie can be any zombie in all of Magic. This one wizard can be any wizard. And taking it a step further by going ahead, this instant spell can be any instant that costs 1 less. So there's a number of different interesting concepts that they have with it. They have the artifact example, which is 7 casting cost artifact. As it comes into play, you may choose an artifact with mana cost of 6. Card name becomes a copy of that artifact. So you can see how the previous nostalgic version warped into this mental version. Now you may be wondering why I call them mental. Some people are probably already on the same page as me, but essentially what you're doing with this right here is you're playing mental magic. Mental magic is an age-old concept that benefits people who know a lot about Magic the Gathering and have a great memory and can think quickly on their feet. So there's actually a card. They made a card in one of the unsets. The Richard Garfield card is essentially playing mental magic. We've played Magic this way in the past, and actually I had a Richard Garfield in my cube. So when you get him out, basically how mental magic works is every card in your hand can be played as the card it is, but you can also play those cards as any other card that exists with an identical casting cost. So if you have a spell that costs 2 black mana, then you can use that as any spell that costs 2 black mana in the entirety of Magic. So it really boils down to how many different cards can you accurately remember with their casting costs and things like that. Now, as you can imagine, this is not exactly an even sort of mechanic. Not everybody knows about every card that exists, so it gives an inherent advantage to the people who know more about the game. For example, whenever the card that allowed you to do that came up in my cube, anybody else who got it would instantly turn it into a land because they didn't want to risk it coming into play or going to the graveyard because I might get my hands on it. And every time I got my hands on Richard Garfield, things got, that doesn't sound right. Every time I got my hands on the Magic card named Richard Garfield, things got really out of hand because I would just sit there and be like, I know pretty much every card, let's do this, you know? So mental Magic is both unbalanced in a way, but really what it does is it just causes a lot of memory and rules confusion. Like if I'm playing a game against you and I go, I'm going to play this spell as this, but you're not familiar with the spell. Do you even know the spell exists? Are you going to take me at my word? How is that going to work in tournament play? It's one thing to do it casually where you're sitting down playing with friends. It's another when you're playing in a tournament event and this actually matters more and people get more heated in those kind of environments, right? So it's a really cool concept as a Magic design, but in execution, it's just too unwieldy to use. So I thought it'd be really cool to break those down. There was a bunch more points, but I knew that I would just jaw on forever if I went over all 27. So who knows? If there's more stuff of interest on there, maybe I'll make some more videos on it, depending on else what's coming along. But I'm still in the process. This room is just chaos right now. You can't see it because I moved the chaos around to record. But anyways, at this point, I'm going to wrap the video up. Names of all my patrons scrolling on by. Let me know about the video quality overall, my friends. Thanks for coming by, and I will see you guys in the next video.